Welcome into another episode of Mood Swings with Liv Moods. I'm Liv Moods. Happy Monday. And as always, this is presented by Landmark Lincoln. Shout out to our friends over at Landmark Lincoln off of Bellevue and Broadway. Make sure you head to their location, figure out why they have been the number one Lincoln dealer in Colorado for as long as they have. I say it every show. I am the proud new owner of a 2025 Lincoln Nautilus. Could not love my car more. So what are you waiting for? We're also going to get into some things in the middle of the show about some of the fun holiday things that the Landmark Lincoln family has going on. We'll get to that in a little bit. Enough about cars. Let's get into the show. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Mood Swings with Liv Moods. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a better Monday than I am. Not in a great headspace today, and it is what it is, but hopefully hanging with you guys and chatting about all things sports will make me feel a little bit better on this Monday. Let me go ahead and let everybody know I am live. Come hang out. And if you're here, shout out to my people. Duval, you always put a smile on my face. Thank you for being here. And then we've got Marley, I think is what that says. Top question right off the jump. So the Broncos are winning the Super Bowl, question mark. You know what? There's a real chance that they can, Marley. And that's the thing about it. We're positioned in a really, really good spot. And yeah, you know what, guys? This last comment here, Liv, good to see you. Victory Monday. I should be in a much better mood because it is yet another Victory Monday. This is now 10 straight wins for the Denver Broncos. And not only that, but we also have confirmation now based on the loss to the Houston Texans that the Chiefs cannot win the AFC West. Now, that does not mean that they can't make the playoffs, but they cannot win the AFC West. And the Broncos are so far ahead of everybody right now that I think they're primed and positioned to win that division, which is something that I actually bet on to start the season. So I'm feeling pretty good about that pick. I've got a couple others. I had Jacksonville to win their division and then one other one, which was the Rams to win theirs. So obviously kind of tight there. You had the Colts and the Jags battling it out. The Jags ended up getting a win versus the Colts, so that positioned them much, much better. And then as for the Rams Seahawks, also kind of a battle. The Seahawks team is not to be underestimated. But the playoff picture is kind of maybe looking a little bit more normal, especially in the NFC. We'll get to that in a minute. But I do want to kind of talk about the theme that I feel like we've got going on this year. And that is, very simply put, this is the year of any year we've had over the last few seasons. This is the year, in my opinion, where defense wins championships. We hear it all the time. It's a saying that we throw out there. But of all football seasons I have watched over the last few years, it seems that defense is the most important thing. It's what is setting these teams ahead. It's what's making the number one seed look the way that it looks. You know, as confusing as the playoff picture may look to you, one thing is certain. Defense is winning. Defense wins championships. And I think this is the year. If there's any Super Bowl that will prove defense wins championships, it's going to be this one. Before the season started, some of the most threatening teams, we look at strength of schedule before the season even starts. Those are based on predictions. Those are based on a few things, most of which are the quarterback that is at the helm and how threatening is that offense going to be based on what we predict, right? So you have the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. That was a team that was kind of up there as a Super Bowl favorite. Even when they were losing games, people still had that faith and that belief that with Patrick Mahomes and with the offense that he's running, they will be able to win football games and they will be a threat. You had the Bengals with Joe Burrow, obviously some injuries there, but before the season started, these are the teams you feared. Ravens with Lamar Jackson, Cowboys with Dak Prescott. What's crazy is this is the best offense in this Dallas Cowboys team. Dak Prescott playing at an MVP level all season long, yet they're still on the hunt. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. It's back and forth and back and forth. And just a few weeks ago, this Cowboys team wasn't even really a threat to most people when it came to the playoff picture. So this really is the year of defense. These teams that I've listed, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, Joe Burrow with the Bengals, Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. All of these teams have an average or a below average record. And that to me is confirming that defense really matters because these are also teams that throughout the season have shown inconsistencies or vulnerabilities in their defense throughout the season. So defense wins championships. We hear it all the time, but I feel like it matters now more than it ever has before. Some of the teams that are as it stands in the playoffs right now, the Texans, the Broncos, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Patriots, teams that offensively maybe didn't seem threatening before the season started, now are posing a real threat. They're winning football games and they're doing it at a very consistent basis. If you ask me right now, with the defense aspect in mind and how much value that is holding in this current NFL season, I would say the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC are one of the teams that to me is positioned the best. You've got that offense with Sam Darnold and JSN that is looking really, really nice. And then you couple that with a really, really nice defense. And that's a team to me that's really threatening in the NFC. And then you've got the Broncos, whose offense is starting to show some promise. We're seeing some improvements little by little, and we've seen what their defense is capable of. I mean, the playmaker that Nick Bonito is, he single-handedly won the game versus the Commanders in that final play. So you've got a defense in this Denver Broncos team that is electric. And then you've got an offense that is fighting through 4 quarters to figure out ways to win, and we're slowly seeing them better. I said on one of my last shows, it should scare people that the Denver Broncos are they 11-2? Yes. It should scare people that the Broncos are now 11-2 and still have work to be done. We're starting to see it a little bit more, but they're not even at their potential yet. And that should scare people because we're watching them get better in little tiny ways every single week, despite winning. You know, when you keep winning, there's not a ton. You learn more when you lose, right? When you lose football games, you learn a whole lot more than when you win them. But this Broncos team, because they have to play hero ball and it comes down to the wire and it's not always this very pretty picture, and they have to play hero ball and they have final seconds to make big plays. You know, they're put in pressured and messy situations a lot this season. They're finding ways to win. And honestly, I think that's why they're the team in the AFC right now that I've got positioned the best. So Seahawks in the NFC and Broncos in the AFC, given how valuable defense has been proven to be this season, those are kind of the two teams I'm looking at going, I might want to grab them while we still get some value, right? Because we're still kind of putting our faith and our interest in former Super Bowl champions in the Eagles or the Ravens, despite their record and how they've struggled. We still believe that they can get the job done. So there's teams that are even still getting more credit than the teams that haven't lost since September, which is crazy, but it's the world we live in. So might be worth a little sprinkle on the Broncos or the Seahawks if these are teams that you're like, listen, defense is really the most important thing this season, and we're seeing that across the board. I want to get these teams while I still get good value. Might be worth a sprinkle. But let's continue to talk about this Denver Broncos team because, like I said, we're seeing little improvements week by week by week, and frankly, quarter by quarter. They're still starting a little slow. Last game was a much better example of what you want to see from them. Just playmakers. You want to see playmakers. And so now I ask you, who's your joker? And how cool that this Denver Broncos team can kind of say they've got 2 to choose from. You've got a Marvin Mims who had an excellent game coming off of a 49-yard punt return, taking it to the house, changing the momentum of this game. And then you've got a guy like RJ Harvey, who's young, but who has proven since J.K. Dobbins has not been available to be very, very valuable to this offense and kind of has some joker in him as well. So you don't really have to pick one or the other, I would say, but it's pretty cool that they've got these weapons. And you could probably make a case for both Marvin Mims and RJ Harvey to be jokers on this team. So let's start with Marvin Mims. And I want to kind of ask the chat a question here because, like I said, 49-yard punt return to the house. He has scored this season as a runner, a receiver, and a returner. There's something very, very special about Marvin Mims. And if you're looking at this season as a whole, he feels criminally underutilized. Now, what I want to bring up, okay, this is a 2-time Pro Bowler, right? And we know that he had some injuries in there, so I'm not, dismissing that fact. We did miss him there for a second, but he is still, in my opinion, being underutilized. Now, let me pose you this question, though. As much as I may not agree with the play calling at all times, there's no denying Sean Payton is a great head coach. But more than being a great head coach, he is a strategic and calculated head coach. Yes, that's part of being a smart head coach, right? Is trying to think 5 steps ahead. Is there a world where it was intentional that Sean Payton did not want to show all that this offense was capable of until he really needed to. Is there a world where Sean Payton has been saving the best of this offense for the playoffs? I know it sounds crazy. And I know you're probably like, Liv, that's the Broncos fan in you trying to, make yourself feel better about the situation. But really, though, because if you look at these games, this offense, when they need to win, they look like a completely different team. And the reality is this: they're still winning football games. So it's not like Sean Payton is like, oh, I'm going to save all my secrets for the playoffs, and they're losing. They're not. They're still winning. It hasn't affected their record. But when you need them to play hero ball and find a way to win in the fourth quarter, all of the sudden, you get the best of that offense. That being said, maybe it isn't strategic as much as it is inconsistencies and vulnerabilities in this Denver offense. But that being said, I think a Marvin Mims is a secret weapon that can be utilized in the playoffs. We did have Marvin Mims out for a little bit with an injury. Okay, he's not, in my opinion, he is underutilized. But then you see games like you just saw versus the Raiders, where you know how valuable he can be. He really, really can. And so there's a part of me that's like, okay, I want to see his usage increase. I want him to get more touches. I want him to get more involved in this offense. But also, is he that secret weapon that a lot of teams won't be prepared for come playoff time? But because he's a two-time Pro Bowler and there's some trust that's built and they know what he's capable of and we know what he's capable of, that maybe we're saving some of the Marvin Mims magic for the games that really, really matter come playoff time. If there's a guy that can throw off a defense, it's going to be a guy like Marvin Mims. Really, he's a playmaker. And so part of me believes that while I may be just trying to make myself feel better and saying Sean Payton is saving the best of this offense for the playoffs to throw everybody off, there's also a part of my brain that's like, it sounds like a crazy thought, but Sean Payton is very stubborn and very smart and strategic and calculated, so I don't put it past him. Some of this, of course, is inconsistencies and just our offense needing to be better through 4 quarters, but there is another part of me that's like, just when I'm about to give up on this offense, they show me something. I'm not saying that something is like, whoa, but they show me something. So I just feel like we haven't seen all of the stops just yet. And Marvin Mims to me is a guy that if Sean Payton can step outside of his comfort zone a little in the play calling and get him more touches and get him more usage, this offense could look completely differently and for the better. So Marvin Mims to me, a potential secret weapon in the playoffs. I think if the Denver Broncos are going to push deep into the playoffs, it's going to be because of your 2 jokers on this team, Marvin Mims and RJ Harvey. To me, these are kind of players on this Broncos team that if you're a Broncos fan and you watch them every Sunday or Monday or Thursday that they've played this season, you know what they're capable of. But these are not people that I think a lot of other teams are maybe threatened by. They're going to prioritize a Cortland Sutton or a Troy Franklin who's always going for a deep ball. Like, these are the guys that you're going to prioritize. There's something sneaky and potentially dangerous about having 2 jokers on one team in RJ Harvey and Marvin Mims. Let's talk about RJ Harvey for a second. There is no denying that when J.K. Dobbins went out and was no longer available and got injured this season, it hurt this Broncos offense. It did. It sucked. I did not want it to happen, but it happened. That being said, RJ Harvey rising to the occasion, the young guy coming off of a 100-yard game and a touchdown for the rookie. Okay, he's got a lot of joker potential that I think we're starting to see Sean Payton tap into a little bit more. Did you know RJ Harvey is the 6th rookie since 1990 with at least 5 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving touchdowns? Another player on that list that I'm sure all of you are familiar with is Saquon Barkley. RJ Harvey, the young guy, has a really high ceiling. He really, really does. And he's got a lot of joker potential. We have seen him with elite hands at times, breaking tackles, making plays, being reliable, slowly but surely becoming more and more reliable for a guy like Bo. So RJ Harvey, to me, the ceiling is very, very high. Could you make a case even for RJ Harvey potentially offensive rookie of the year? I mean, look at the rookies that we've seen so far that have not been able to stay super healthy, unfortunately, or haven't had winning records. RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins goes out, you start to see him utilized much, much more. And he really has proven to be of value to this offense. So I think that is something that we don't speak about enough as it pertains to this Denver Broncos team. Yes, their offense still needs some work. We're starting to see that get a little bit better with time. But more than that, it does make them very dangerous to have two jokers on one team. It does. And these are playmakers and they're athletic and they know how to score. And I just think that there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to an RJ Harvey. And you already know what Marvin Mims is capable of, two-time Pro Bowler. And you saw it again last night. I think if you can get Marvin Mims some more touches and use him a little bit more, because like I said, feels like he is criminally underutilized. And then you continue to build and push confidence into your young guy, RJ Harvey. I think this offense will continue to get better as the season progresses. And you know it's going to have to. You've got the Packers next, who at the beginning of the season were one of the most complete teams in the NFC. After that, you've got the Jags, who under Trevor Lawrence, you're not sure what you're going to get any given weekend. You know, 1 second they are on fire, the next they are not. Is this a big, big Evan Ingram game that we can expect versus his former team in the Jags? I'll probably bet it. Yeah, I sure will. We saw Evan Ingram run a route last week, and you know, my coworker Jake Plummer was like, I didn't know he could do that. He did it. So our offense is getting more confident and getting a little bit more reliable. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit, because it's been a long season, guys. It's been a long season in the sense of those first 3 quarters, right? That fourth quarter is where you really get to see what this team is about. But we are seeing it a little bit more consistently, which is very, very exciting. So you're getting more out of this offense as of right now, week 14. You're getting a little bit more out of Evan Ingram. Feels like you've maybe gotten a little less out of Courtland Sutton, but it's because you're getting more guys involved. So unfortunately, you know, I call it collateral damage. I'm not sure Courtland Sutton cares. You know, he's a leader. He wants to win at the end of the day, however that happens. If he's super involved, great. If he's not, I'm not sure he particularly cares. But you're getting more out of Ingram. You've got your young guy in RJ Harvey, who is very Joker-esque. You're getting big plays out of Marvin Mims. Hopefully that just continues as he gets more and more involved. You got a little bit more reliability in Troy Franklin, especially when the game is on the line. You know, he can frustrate you all game long. And then in the fourth quarter, in those final seconds, when you need a big first down, he's the guy that's making those plays happen. So we've seen some more chemistry being built between Bo Nix and a Troy Franklin. And then listen, guys, we have only scratched the surface on a guy like Pat Bryant. Honestly, you haven't even gotten out of Pat Bryant what I think you can truly get out of him. So there's a lot to be excited about. And I think, again, being 11-2 and still having work to do is a really, really cool thing. And at the end of the day, like I started the show saying, this is a defense wins championships kind of year. It is. You look at the proof is in the pudding. Look at the playoff picture. All preseason long, it was Ravens this, Eagles that, Chiefs this, Bengals that, Cowboys. This is our year. I mean, we hear that from Weedham boys every year, so I'm not sure that has, you know, that means a whole lot. But those were the teams we were talking about. Those were the teams we were supposed to be threatened by. Those were the teams that, you know, people would look at their schedule and go, oh, we've got a tough schedule this year because you're having to face teams like that. But those teams aren't finding ways to win because their vulnerability is their defense. And defense is really mattering now more than it ever has before. So a lot to be excited about on this Victory Monday, of course. But again, there's a couple of games over the next few weeks for this Broncos team. I believe Packers, Jags, you'll see the Chiefs again at home. No, on the road, I believe, and then Chargers as well. So you've got some games in there where I would imagine that they have secured at least something. The AFC West, I would imagine, belongs to the Denver Broncos at this point in time. Now, the 1 seed in the AFC, The Patriots are still winning games. As of the tiebreaker right now, the Broncos are the 1 seed in the AFC. I would imagine by that final game, we're resting starters, and depending on how the playoff picture is stacked and whether or not we have a bye that first week, I don't know if I like a bye for this Broncos team. I think this Broncos team has thrived on momentum all season long. And so a part of me is like, do you really want the number 1 seed? I mean, yes, having home field advantage as a Denver Bronco is probably the most important out of any team in the NFL, just for the simple fact of the altitude playing a role. And it does play a role. If you've never been to Colorado, you can't speak on this. I'm telling you, I've lived in this state my entire life. And I still, to this day, sometimes I'm like, it feels like I'm breathing through a straw. The altitude does matter. Ask any athlete that has to travel to Denver and play here. They probably hate it. Ask any artist that has a concert in Denver. They probably hate it. So there is an aspect of us being the number 1 seed would be beneficial for sure. You just look at the fact that bye week, does it create rust? Does it create rest? Is rest what they're going to need at that point? Or are they going to want to keep riding that high and riding that momentum? Only time will tell. But either way, the Denver Broncos sitting in a really, really great spot. The Chiefs cannot win the AFC West anymore. So the Chargers, who play tonight versus the Eagles, will kind of get a feel for what they look like and how threatening they may be in the playoff picture. Now, the Eagles, how threatened are you by the Eagles? I don't know. It feels like they've been a hot damn mess all season long. They've got their own problems. They've got their own things going on, whether it be, how do the players feel? Offensive coordinator with the offense doesn't seem like they're gelling and vibing. Doesn't feel like there's a ton of great on-field chemistry between Jalen Hurts and guys like Saquon Barkley. I mean, God, how do you go from being the Saquon Barkley last year that was truly in contention to win MVP, playing out of his mind, to kind of just being nobody this season? The Eagles have their set of issues. I don't feel confident that the Eagles will go back to the Super Bowl this year. As talented as they are, I think they've got some in-house things they need to clean up before that can happen. So time will tell. We'll be watching the Chargers tonight, however, through the lens of, we have to see this team again later this season. And depending on how the AFC is stacked at that point, we may still need a win in the final game of the season. I hope and pray that we get to rest our starters and all is good there, but we may not. So it'll be a good test to see kind of what they do versus a team that we did beat this season. We didn't have a problem versus the Eagles. We found a way to win. So it'll be interesting to see if the Chargers can do the same. Okay, let's pause on the football talk for half a second. We'll come back to it. We'll talk through the playoff picture as it stands right now. Let's go into Denver Nuggets. Let's talk Nuggets for a moment. Here's the deal, guys. 17-6, the best start in franchise history for this Denver Nuggets team. The idea that anyone out there is questioning whether or not the Nuggets should be looking outside of David Adelman at this point is hilarious. And also a bit foolish, I would say. Let's not forget, David Adelman is missing 2 starters, 2 very valuable starters, okay? And they are still 17-6. Now, it's so funny when it comes to this Nuggets team this year, 17-6, but when you talk to Nuggets fans, sometimes it sounds like doomsday. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I mean, it's only December 8th, 17-6, best start in franchise history. I'm not feeling too bad about that, but I also understand where these Nuggets fans are coming from, because a lot of these losses were winnable losses. And you saw at the beginning of the season, again, bearing in mind at that time you did have Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown healthy and available and playing. The defense, I think, is what stresses out Nuggets fans the most, right? Because it's always been a problem. It's always been something we've complained about, but not because, hey, we can't play defense. What gives? What needs to change? No, what makes it even more frustrating is they can play defense. It just feels like a very lackluster effort. There's a lack of effort there. And I think that's what makes it frustrating, because they can play better defense than they're playing. That being said, they are still 17-6, okay? The Western Conference is tough. And despite OKC's historic red-hot start, only having lost 1 game this season, if there is a team that can beat OKC this year, it is the full-throttle, healthy Denver Nuggets. You have Jamal Murray playing at a very high level, a level we normally don't see until the playoffs, and you're seeing it right now. There's a level of hunger that he possesses right now that makes me feel really good about the idea of a championship year being this year. Nikola Jokic, despite having won 3 MVPs over his career, is playing better basketball now than he was then. You don't have Aaron Gordon. You're still fighting like hell and finding ways to win without Aaron Gordon, Mr. Nugget, the glue that holds it all together. So the defense, yeah, I get it, because some of these losses were winnable ones, and those are the most frustrating losses in the history of sports. But the reality is there is still a lot of promise given you don't even have 2 of your best guys back yet. So calling for David Adelman to be, I mean, guys, we're not going to do this. That's crazy. He doesn't have 2 starters. They're still winning, maybe not in the fashion in which we want them to, or some of the losses that they have shouldn't have been losses. So it's frustrating. I get all that. I get it. I'm right there with you. But 17-6, best record in franchise history. And I can say with my chest, oh, she's a homer. I don't care what you think about it. It's the truth of the matter. If a team can stop OKC, it's Denver. Fully healthy, full throttle, the Denver Nuggets. To me, once you get Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown back, and you're still getting out of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic and your bench guys and Cam Johnson making plays when he needs to, when you're still getting that and then you add Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown back into the mix, this is a very dangerous team. The Denver Nuggets are terrifying in full health. I'm not terrified, but you should be. If you're not a Nuggets fan, you should be scared for sure. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement happening here in the world of Denver. The Avalanche, I mean, goodness sakes, it is a good time to be alive. Snow Wolf, that's actually a funny comment. Liv is being nice today, which is really funny that you say that, because I'm in a really bad mood. I'm having a really bad day mentally. I'm just not in a great spot. Could probably cry on a dime right now. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm like being sentimental today. So I'm a little less aggressive, but no, I'm having a rough day for sure. So maybe I need to have those more often, and then I'll be really, really nice to my teams. No, but again, I don't really have a reason to be angry at my teams at this moment. And if I need to be, I will. But yeah, I am feeling a little nice today. Can you believe it? This show is called Mood Swings, and I guess you might get a little bit of every mood today. I'm not sure. Okay, before we're going to move on now to just kind of the playoff picture as it stands in this moment, right? And I want to talk about it because it's so interesting how things have changed from the last time I sat in this chair. Okay, I did say to you guys last show, I believe it was, I said, if the Bears lose to the Packers, they have the potential to drop all the way from the 1 seed to the 7 seed. And they did. They did. That's because the 1 seed and the 7 seed had the same record. It is the most, by week 14, you would think that we have a little bit more like clarification, like things are a little more clarity. You would think there would be a little bit more clarity about which teams are the front runners, which teams have the best path to the Super Bowl. But I just don't think we are in a position where we can confidently say that in the AFC or the NFC. So the Bears, just last show, were the 1 seed in the NFC. They are now the 7 seed. Yes, it's true. They lost to the Packers. They are now the 7 seed with a 9-4 record. Guys, this season is bonkers, okay? You've got the 2 seed in the Eagles being 8-4, if my eyes do not deceive me. 7-6 is the 4 seed in the NFC. And then the 7 seed is 9-4. Again, it is just a very unique playoff picture that we've got here. But I do feel like this playoff picture makes a little bit more sense than the last one we talked about. The Bears being the number 1 seed, good for them. I predicted they were making the playoffs this year. I predicted Ben Johnson was going to do his thing and turn this program around. So very, very happy for them. They're finding ways to win football games, and they deserve their credit for that. So don't try to, find reasons to not give them their flowers. They deserve them. That being said, it's just a unique year. It's a really, really unique year. 8-5, the Detroit Lions. They're in a tough division, and division games really, really do matter. The Detroit Lions losing both of their games this season to the Packers hurt them very, very badly. The Packers, the 2 seed, with a 9-3-1 record. So the NFC, very interesting. And like I said, I'm looking at the 10-3 Seattle Seahawks, who have a very, very elite defense and also an offense. Now, how much do I trust Sam Darnold in a playoff picture? I don't know. Do I think sitting here right now, if you made me answer this question, could Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl? I would probably go, no. I would probably say no first. I would. Just like on reaction, in the heat of the moment, I would probably say no. That being said, that doesn't feel fair. That doesn't feel entirely fair to say that Sam Darnold is not capable of winning a Super Bowl because I've watched what they've done this season. And you've got a receiver like JSN, I like what they're doing over there. I do. So to me, because I know defense is arguably, not even arguably, folks, it's not an argument. It's the truth. Look at the playoff picture and how it's stacked. There's a million and one things people could say about the Denver Broncos offense and how inconsistent and how much work needs to be done there. You could say the same for the Jags. It's not stopping the fact that the Jags are the 3 seed, and it's certainly not stopping the fact that the Broncos are the 1 seed. How about those Ravens? One of the best offenses in the league. They're 6-7. They're in the hunt for a playoff spot right now. How about those Cowboys? The best offense in the league. Dak Prescott playing at an MVP level. How about them Cowboys? They're 6-1. They're on the hunt to make the playoffs. Offense has proven to be secondary this season. Defense is where it's at. And that's how you explain the playoff picture. It's not luck. It's not strength of schedule. No, it's defense. That's what it is. And that's the other thing. I see a lot of people, when it comes to what Drake May and the Patriots are doing in the AFC, the immediate reaction by most people who are not excited for them is, well, their strength of schedule. Well, guess what? Strength of schedule was a prediction that was made before the season started, assuming that the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Eagles were going to be red hot. And they're not. Those are not red hot teams this year. Those are not threatening teams this year. So therefore, a strength of schedule that we thought was really scary and really strong, that schedule isn't. And teams that maybe before the season started weren't scary or we didn't think were a threat, were. You think teams looked at the Indianapolis Colts in week 4 and said, shiver me timbers, I'm scared? Doubt it. But they should have been. So the strength of schedule argument, throw it out the window, because the teams we were supposed to be scared of because they were the scariest on the schedule were not. You've got the Ravens, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Lions, you've got the Cowboys who have the best offense this season, all in the hunt for the playoffs. They are not there yet. They've got work to do. So this is the year of defense, and that's why the playoff picture looks the way that it looks. Now, a team like the Rams, right? You can make a case for the Seahawks having a much better defense than the Rams, but yeah, if your defense is just good enough and your offense is still outscoring the other team, then, you're the Los Angeles Rams under Matthew Stafford and you're doing just fine right about now. So the playoff picture, it's an interesting one. It is. But, hop on the train or we're leaving you at the station. It is what it is, guys. Defense wins championships, and defense is winning the Super Bowl this year. Mark my words. You can be upset about it all you want. You can tell me or the Patriots or whomever 1,000,001 times, well, your offense sucks and your quarterback is overrated. Well, that defense is kind of where it's at right about now. So that's why we get this playoff picture, and it's going to continue to change because it is a tight race in the NFC, and the AFC is kind of a disaster, right? You've got the Steelers at the top of their division right now, 7-6, but the reality is the Baltimore Ravens at 6-7 have some winnable games on the horizon. That division could be theirs by the end of the season. You just never know. So it is worth noting that despite the playoff picture looking this way right now, it could change 1,000,001 times before the playoffs begin. Truly. But again, like, exciting stuff because, I mean, 10 straight victory Mondays/Fridays/ maybe Tuesdays. Yeah, I'm with it. That's the beauty of it is like as many opinions as you have on how the Broncos are the 1 seed and the Patriots are the 2 seed, they are, whether you like it or not. They have the 2 best records in the NFL. They're finding ways to win football games, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not how you got there. It's did you get there? Did you get the dub or didn't you? And if you did, I don't really care how. Just keep getting them. Like, as much as I hate the heart attacks I get every Sunday watching the Denver Broncos, and as much as I'd like to get in that locker room and be like, hey guys, listen up. Here's what I want to see different. Just for my peace of mind. just to ease my mind a little. Can we tighten these things up? At the end of the day, it's like, hey Liv, did we get the dub or not? You did. Okay. Then move on. The Broncos, here's the thing. The Denver Broncos, I highly doubt I don't think they're thinking for very long after the game is over and they've gotten the dub how ugly it was. Now, in practice, are they probably thinking about ways they can avoid that from happening again? For sure. But they're on to the next. They're not sulking in the first 3 quarters in week 7. They don't care. It's week 15, baby. Okay, they're on to the next. They are focused and ready to take on their next opponent. So, yeah, it's a very interesting year, but it's a really exciting one. I got to tell you, I love seeing new teams, new faces. I don't want to say I love seeing some of these teams like lose, but fine, I said it. Did I have a good Sunday night last night because the Texans beat the Chiefs? Yeah, I think I did a little. Sorry. That's called rivalry, baby. It is what it is. So, yeah, in certain situations, of course, I can get ahead of myself and sometimes root for L's for people that aren't my team. But it's mostly because I also like seeing the playoff picture stacked in a very different way and seeing some new faces on the horizon, okay, and on the map. So that's part of it. All right. The driven opinions for today, actually, you guys, is going to be me just reading stuff that you guys asked me on Instagram. I did a little story and said, ask me anything. And that's going to be our driven opinions for today. But before we get into driven opinions, I mentioned at the top of the show that Landmark Lincoln is doing something very special this holiday season. As you guys know, my show is presented by Landmark Lincoln. I am a member of that family with my new car. And so let's check out what they are doing. This is their Drive for a Cause this holiday season. Let's see what it's all about.
At Landmark Lincoln, we've been serving Colorado families for generations. But what matters most is giving back.
This November and December, $250 from every car sold will go towards St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Together, we can find cures for childhood cancer.
One car, one family, one cure at a time.
Let's drive hope forward, Colorado.
Every mile matters.
Absolutely love that. $250 for every car sold will go towards children's cancer research. I mean, if you're looking for a way to give back and you need a new car, I just found it. There you go. Okay. Don't say I've never done anything for you, because I have. I've tried my very, very best. I try to do things for people. Does it matter at the end of the day? Probably not. But I try my best, guys. And I do think you should go to Landmark Lincoln and check them out. Okay. We're going to get into driven opinions. If you don't know what driven opinions is, it is where I take a backseat. The backseat is a hot seat. All gas, no brakes on hot takes. Usually, my producer comes up with the questions, the prompts, the things that we're discussing, and I have no idea what those will be. This time, however, I went ahead and got on my Instagram, which I have been doing a lot more. So if you're like, Liv, I want to ask you a question, well, you can. You just have to follow me on Instagram at Liv Moods and submit to the question box some questions that you may have. I went ahead and posted it on my story. I said, ask me anything. I will answer it on today's show. So we are going to go through some of these questions. You guys submitted some good ones, so we're going to go through those now. This is Driven Opinions, driven by Landmark Lincoln. First and foremost, somebody, they did not ask a question, but they did just say, just have a great day. Very kind. I've had the opposite, but thank you for thinking of me. Maybe there was something that was telling you needed to say that to me, so I appreciate. Someone else said, can you send me a Broncos jersey? Guys, I would love to dive into this for just 2 seconds. I don't know how much pull people think I have, but I don't really have a ton. I love my job. I love the platform that I have built. I love, the people that follow me and support me through and through and through. But at the end of the day, the second this camera stops rolling, I get in my car, I go home, and I am just a regular Joe rewatching Stranger Things from season 1 so I can catch up and watch the new season. Like, I'm not connected like that. You know, the people that are like outside, they know the bouncer here and the person there, and not I. Not I. I just don't. I'm not outside enough, guys. So as much as I would love to send you a Broncos jersey, I don't, unless I just pay for it and send you one, which, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to give me a good reason. I don't have plugs like that. So I just want to put that out there just so that you guys aren't confused. I'm not, I don't think I'm too cool to help you out. I just don't have the help. Like I'm it's not like that. Okay. This question is amazing, and this should not surprise you at all. What is my favorite Broncos game so far this season? Easy, 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 easy. The Giants game, because I was at the Giants game, and that comeback was just unlike anything I've ever witnessed or been around or watched. And the environment of that game, the fans, the energy in that stadium when we won was just amazing. Like, I get goosebumps just thinking about how amazing that game was. And the Giants fans that sat behind me, so kind, so respectful, so nice all game, even when they were winning. When we came around and won, they were wonderful. So just all around 10 out of 10 for that game, because I could not believe that we came back and won that one. So that's an easy one for me to answer. This one says, if you could fix one thing with the Broncos offense, what would it be? I feel like I've said this a million times, and it's probably play calling, but if I want to be more specific, it's just taking some more risks offensively, but only doing that when it makes sense. I feel like that's where the play calling can get very confusing and throw a lot of people off. Sure, there's times where Sean does like to get tricky and cute with it, but it's never at an appropriate time. It's like, why are you doing that right now? We watch Bo Nix unscripted in that fourth quarter, and that's usually what we like the best. That's the version of Bo Nix that we prefer. I want to see that in the first quarter. Design run plays for Bo. Get him off script a little bit. So I would say a little less conservative in the play calling, but only when deemed appropriate. That I think is the battle of the play calling. Is sometimes I'm like, yeah, that was great, but not right now. Like, what are we doing? So I would say if I could fix one thing, it would be play calling, but in that particular way. Fave Denver mascot, Rocky, Miles, or Dinger? Rocky for sure, but Rocky is like I don't know if you guys knew this, he's the highest paid mascot in the NBA. Rocky is. I grew up with a different Rocky. I'm not dogging the current Rocky that we have. I grew up with a very different Rocky who was like setting the standard, right? Now it's like normal for whoever is in that suit and has that job that those are the expectations. But back in the day, Rocky was like doing things that normal mascots were not doing. So he's kind of raising the bar. Now the bar is set, and that's because of Rocky in so many ways. So I'm going to say Rocky for sure. Let's see what else. Do you ever bring listeners / longtime supporters on? Would love to chop it up and share takes. I haven't done that before, but I'm not opposed to it at all. I love chatting with you guys. I'm really bad. My downfall in life is responding to text messages or DMs. I will mentally see them really fast, and then my brain responds for me, but I don't actually type it out. And then I end up not responding to people, and it's never intentional. It's something I need to work on. I do know that, because it's very rude. It's rude to not respond to people. So I've had people that have reached out and said, we should, go live sometime. It's not that I'm against that. I don't always respond right away or whatever the case, but I am on board with that for sure. I think sometimes there's longtime followers or supporters that are a little weird and kind of sometimes are like they don't know boundaries. So sometimes I get a little nervous about that. But for the most part, you guys are wonderful and awesome. And I would love to do a show where you guys just pop in for a couple of minutes and we go back and forth, and we'll plan for that. Andy and I will draw up something and we'll plan for that. Final question that I will. Oh, someone said your all-time favorite Bronco. So I feel like just given this particular season and the impact that they had and just like their story, probably Demaryius Thomas, you know? But I think I appreciate and love and respect the way in which Von Miller's love for Denver has never wavered. It doesn't matter which team he's on. It doesn't matter if that team is winning games or losing games. It doesn't matter if that team is facing the Denver Broncos. Von Miller has never, ever wavered in his love for the Denver Broncos. And not just the Denver Broncos, but the city of Denver. So I think, the appropriate answer to who is my favorite Bronco of all time, you look at the impact Von Miller had, obviously. That itself, would make you love him. But more than that, it's the way in which he has never wavered in his love for the city and for the team. So I think Von Miller, because, it doesn't matter where he's been, what team he's been on, he is loud and he is proud about his time with Denver. So Von Miller for me would probably be my answer, just because you got to love the loyalty. The loyalty is not fake. It's not for show. It's not for a podcast. It is any team he goes to, he is loud and proud about the Denver Broncos. So I respect the hell out of that. And I would say probably Von Miller for that exact reason. Okay, finally, and this will kind of wrap things up for today. I'll pull up my sports book here. I was asked what I liked for a parlay for tonight. Should we build one together, guys? You know what? I think we should. I think you guys should get in the chat. If you're here and you're watching, we've got the Eagles on the road taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are 2.5-point underdogs at home. The over-under is 41.5. Okay. What do we like? You went to Super Bowl 50 when Von went berserk. That's incredible. That's probably something you'll remember for the rest of your life, I would imagine. Okay. What do we like in this one, guys? Do we think the Eagles get the job done? This is a very interesting one. 2.5-point underdogs at home are the Chargers. How do we feel about taking a side in this one? Is there a preference here? If you made me choose, honest to goodness, I think I'm taking the Chargers to cover at home. If you made me choose. Do we like yes or no? Go ahead and get in that comment section and let me know. Chargers to cover would be where I lean. And I probably lean under. If you made me choose a total, I would say under. I'm not sure that we're going to get super electric offense out the gates with these two guys or with these two teams. I have also seen some conversations about a little Keenan Allen anytime touchdown. I don't hate that. That doesn't make me mad whatsoever. So if you made me make a parlay, since the chat's awfully quiet, are you guys scared? What's going on? Why are you ignoring me? No, I'm just kidding. If you made me, I would say Chargers to cover at home, the under, and Keenan Allen in some way, whether that be an anytime touchdown or the over on yards. You probably get the best value if you take anytime touchdown for Keenan Allen. So Chargers plus 2.5, under 41.5, and Keenan Allen anytime. How does that sound? That might be good. I don't know. If you made me choose, I haven't bet that myself, but one of the questions was, if you had to build a parlay right now, what would it look like? Chargers to cover, under 41.5, Keenan Allen anytime. How about that? Okay. I think that does it. Someone said Barkley anytime touchdown. I just don't trust the Eagles at all. I wish I could. I really, really wish I could, but unfortunately, no trust. Okay, guys. I think that does it for today's show. Kind of short and sweet, not a whole lot to discuss. As we start getting closer to the playoffs, obviously the playoff picture will get a little bit more set depending on how things play out. But for now, it's just ebbs and flows. We're going to have a very wonky schedule coming up, you guys. I am going to Hawaii again. I know. Liv, what could you possibly need to go to Hawaii for again? I'm going to Hawaii again because my outstanding and highly athletic brother is running in the Honolulu Marathon. And if we're being completely honest, because I'm so loud and obnoxious and crazy and, I've always loved attention, me and my sisters. He's the only boy. This is like the first time in his life that he's done something that's like been all about him. There's always been like the football game or the basketball game where one parent has to be at the dance competition and the other has to be watching the football game for Dawson. Like this is something he's worked exceptionally hard for. He's trained really, really hard. And this is the first thing that is like all about him. So as the older sister, it feels like I want to be there. I want to support him. I'm going to get a fat head. I'm going to make posters. And I just want him to feel accomplished and special and seen and appreciated. I mean, he's just been so consistent with his training. And I'm very, very proud of him. So we're going to go support him in Honolulu for that marathon. But so the filming schedule is going to be a little off because I get back at like 6 a.m. on Tuesday. It's going to be a crazy week this week and next week, but I promise we'll get you guys all caught up and hopefully on socials, I'll keep you updated with all things sports takes if anything crazy happens and all that stuff. I am going to have to pack some sort of Broncos apparel while I'm out there, while they play the Packers. I'm going to have to. So anyway, you guys, I'm done rambling for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Lots of love to you. Have a wonderful week. And of course, go Broncos, go Nuggets, go Avs, go whoever. This has been presented by Landmark Lincoln. Shout out to our friends and family over at Landmark Lincoln. Check them out. Head to their location off of Bellevue and Broadway. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. I'm not sure when the next show will be, but just follow Guerrilla Sports, turn on the notifications. You know the drill, and we'll see you next time.